I have spent too much time trying to find out which is the best electric vehicle, and I believe I have found it together with Michelin. Unfortunately, when people decide to go electric vehicle, they look upon two things: range and price. But if they do some more heavy study, they will find out that the best electric vehicle is the BMW i3. Okay, before you throw yourself to the keyboard writing down your comments, please give me a chance to explain. From a personality perspective, this is what everybody expects me to drive. In fact, that's the most common question. Janko, why don't you drive a Taycan? When it comes to driving pleasure, well, the Porsche Taycan is the king in the EV class. And believe me, the last test I did was amazing. Everything was focusing on driving pleasure. It's a pure rally car and it has all that Porsche DNA which we need as a person who appreciates driving. This is all about driving, nothing else. And ladies and gentlemen, as a surprise, that will not be in any, and I mean any, spec sheets. Oh, and now the phone is ringing, so yeah, let's go ahead, sliding big times, and let's have Johan. Johan, say hi to the public at YouTube, please. Say something.
Hello there, how are you?
I'm fine, I'm just driving on the rallycross stage, and whoa, I can tell you this much, this cross turismo is something beyond. I'm just at asphalt right now and pushing the car even further. So, how do you feel speaking to a person driving on a racetrack at this point?
It feels normal.
Yeah, exactly, because you're a friend of mine. Ooh. Okay, so we are into a slow area, and Johan, we are heading for more gravel mode at a second. And tell me one thing, Johan.
Are you drifting with it?
Oh, am I drifting? Well, let's have an outside picture again to see how I'm doing in that area. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this car is built to be driven, nothing else. And here we have a perfect slide going forward. And then hit even more. Oh, this is beautiful driving, ladies and gentlemen. The car is so balanced. What you can do is that you can actually tip it on the toes, having to feel that weight differences when you brake and when you accelerate. I own 3 Porsches, and when it's time for some passionate driving, well, the EV is parked in the garage. Those of us who drive electric vehicle will find out that 99% of all driving is quite easy driving, commuting. And it doesn't matter if I drive a BMW i3S or a Porsche Taycan, Tesla, Polestar. It doesn't matter because it's the same efficient driving. If you follow this channel, then you already know that I have purchased a Toyota Gear Yaris, and my original thought was to make a proper review of that vehicle, but it turns out that that is the worst car I've ever owned in my entire life. The consumption is high, the seating position is rubbish, the noise level is unbearable, and on top of that, in order to make it a driver's car, you have to modify it a lot. I mean, if you could find any Toyota Gear Yaris which is not modified, well, you hit the jackpot, because that's what you need to do. And then you have to throw a lot of money into it to, make it what it's supposed to be. And in the end of the day, just buy a Porsche 718 Cayman or Boxster and it will be a much better financial situation. But one good thing with the Toyota Gear Yaris was the app. With the app, I had the opportunity to analyze my driving. I had never reached, during one day, more than 200 kilometers. But why do that? All the people, when they buy an electric vehicle, look at the range. Well, from my perspective, it's about knowledge and the driver's ability to change. Well, with the new knowledge I received from my Toyota app, I walked straight into a BMW dealer and asked for an i3S 94 amp with a range of 230 kilometers. The salesperson explained to me that that is no longer available, but they had a used one, and that's what I purchased. There's no need for anyone to drive around with larger battery than the person needs. It's just a heavy load on the vehicle. Remember the gasoline, when you use the energy in gasoline, the car will get lighter. But when an electric vehicle is empty, it has the same weight as when you started. I know a lot of people have the range anxiety, and the cure for that is quite simple. It's called navigation. And 100 years ago, well, okay, perhaps 10 years ago, BMW introduced shortcuts. It has 1 to 8 numbers that you could program according to your wishes. Therefore, it is extremely easy to access the navigation. The simple thing you do is that you navigate through the iDrive to the function that you would like. In this case, navigate home, and then you just press one of the 8 keys and hold it and program it to be able for one push button to start a navigation with destination your home. So if I'm out driving and then have a difficulties to understand if the range that is presented to me is enough to going home, I simply press my shortcut and I will have the math done simultaneously. If you don't remember how you have programmed your shortcut, just hovering and the text on top will actually show the results. So if I push number 1, I will get to my wife, number 2, my son, and number 3, Johan. That has been on this channel. Therefore, it's very straightforward. Buy the vehicle or the electric vehicle with the appropriate range according to your behavior. That's the key element when you buy an electric vehicle, and not for the single trip with your family skiing. Instead, what is important is the weight of the vehicle, not the range. I cannot stress that enough. This vehicle has a weight, including a driver, of 1,260 kilo. To get a very light electric vehicle, you need to get to very advanced technologies, both in construction and in manufacturing. In this case, it's an aluminium frame, and on top of that, a carbon fiber monocoque. Remember F1 cars crashing in barriers in 300 kilometers an hour, and the drivers shake it off. That's how strong the carbon fiber is. And you need to go to Formula 1 or exotic cars like McLaren or top-of-the-range Koenigsegg to get a carbon fiber monocoque. Have a look inside here. All doors that you open in an i3 is made of carbon fiber, and you can see the monocoque, and that is what I call car pornography. Weight it is then, but why? Well, it's quite simple, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say you go out camping. How big would you like a backpack to be? A 5 kilo or 25 kilos? You will burn much more calories carrying 25 kilos in comparison to 5. That's obvious. But as a consequence, you can fit smaller engines, smaller batteries, and you get a greater efficiency. I must admit that I am surprised how energy optimized this vehicle is. But before I leave the boot, that's the downside of it actually. It's very small, so if I would like something more added to this car, perhaps a larger boot. But efficiency, this is the consequence, because I have driven this car for 14,000 kilometers, and I only used a regular socket. That's how efficiency it is. I don't need any infrastructure. I just need, some plain electricity. 8 amps is okay. But remember, you have to be careful with those. If you charge your car for longer than 4 hours, it could build up heat. And if your socket is not proper done, it could cause fire. Please check with your local electricians if you could use it as a charger port. Okay, energy consumption. The i3S is using much less energy to pull the car forward in comparison to the Taycan and basically all other electric vehicles. That's how important the energy factor is, and I think that's the whole point, right? With electric vehicle, using as less energy from Mother Earth as possible. And if you look at the Taycan, that's the car, that's the electric vehicle for the one that wants to push and really drive the vehicle. It has that Porsche DNA, the sports car DNA. That's what you need. If you look at the Tesla, it's for, I'm not sure what Tesla is for, well, it's a gaming console, isn't it? And it's nothing wrong driving around in a gaming console. I know people that in the 40s plays with the Lego, so. An optimal car, which has, 1,260 kilos, everything is suited and tuned in with some engineering perfection. It comes with a little downsides, because if you put one more person into this car, let's say 80 kilos, that's a lot of percentage in weight increase. And if you then put 4 passengers in, that actually has a bigger effect on the range rather than getting to drive in minus 20 degrees. I would like to discuss the price of the i3s. But why then do I standing in front of a BMW 750 Li? Well, there I have a point to make. When everybody is in pursuit for a perfect electric vehicle, they kind of try to find the one that suits every occasion when you drive. And you most probably end up with a hybrid, right? But take this under consideration. If you buy an i3s, especially the 94 amps, which is very cheap on the second-hand market, you have a lot of money left to buy perhaps a BMW 750 Li, a proper V8. And here's the funny thing, if someone buys a hybrid, what I have discovered, and remember I've been driving a lot of hybrids on this channel, when you actually run a combustion engine, which is in normal case too small for the vehicle and it has to work too much, it actually uses more fuel than a modern V8. So think about that. If you have the place in your garage, have your BMW i3s for 90% of all your journey, back and forth to work, picking up your children, etc. And when you go on the long trip, ladies and gentlemen, you do it with some style. And this has absolutely nothing to do with the i3s review, but look at the back seat of this vehicle. After my swim run today, I had a web meeting and I was just beautiful, comfortable seat in the back seat here where I'm sitting right now having my web meeting. It is something special. And going on family trips, this would be the perfect car, comfortable, travel with class. I'm seriously considering buying a 7 Series, a Panamera S-Class or an Audi A8. I cannot make up my mind at this point where I want to go. The only problem I have, regardless which of those cars I buy, is that normally when we go on family trips, my wife drives the vehicle. And I have a gut feeling that I'm gonna be changing position and driving. So how do I convince my wife to continue to drive if I buy such a vehicle? So what is the downside with the BMW i3s or the i3 in general? Well, stability, ladies and gentlemen. As stock, its narrow tires makes, well, the car difficult and unstable in motorway speeds. This is the stock i3s rim and tire, and look how thin they are, 175 in the front and 195 in the back. And remember, if you drive a regular i3, they are even thinner. And one of the perks driving an i3s is that you get a more set chassis, a much more stable car, a bit wider tires, but it is not enough, ladies and gentlemen. There is a huge difference between the i3 and the i3s, no questions about that, but I have the total solution that might be the game changer for this vehicle. The answer to the stability issues with the BMW i3s on highways and heavy side winds is to upgrade the wheels. First off, I have purchased a Style 516 stock BMW i8 wheels, 7.5 inch wide, both in the front and in the back. But perhaps most important is that I haven't fitted any efficient tire. I've gone for grip. I've been driving Porsches since I was 19 years old, and I have learned a lot about tires. I truly recommend the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. Even though Michelin has provided me with these tires, I've been a customer to Michelin for over 20 years, and I know the importance of grip. That I have learned through all the track days I have done, all the Porsches I've been driven, that the key for performance is the tires. And that's the reason why you should go for performance tire and wider ones, 215 on my 7.5 inch wheels. In order to fit this, I need 20mm spaces in the back and 15mm in the front. But when you have fitted them, that's when the magic happens. The people that has tested this solution with 215 wide tires experience a totally different vehicle. And for those that perhaps have an old mindset, having difficulty with the range anxiety, in minus 20 degrees, that's minus 4 Fahrenheit, my range goes from 230 kilometers down to 170 kilometers, and in 12 degrees Celsius, that's 54 degrees Fahrenheit, I have a range of 210 kilometers, and both these measurements has been done in eco mode. If you follow me, then you already know that I have a tendency to modify my vehicle, and this is no exceptions. First off, Autoshield. They have put PPF on the rear bumper, which helped me to avoid scratches when I load goods into the car. And you already know that I have a dog, and when she jumps in and out of the car, well, the risk of her scratching the bumper is quite high. But perhaps the coolest work Autoshield has done is the rear. This is a transparent PPF which is tinted, and that hides those ugly rear lamps, and they are still there and still working, and they still do the work they should do, but they are invisible. And this, ladies and gentlemen, really puts a cool look of the rear of the i3. We actually call this car Darth Vader, and I think that name suits. Last but not all, I believe this is a Porsche 911 owner syndrome, but obviously I have removed the rear wiper. One benefit with driving any electric vehicle, and this is no exception, in fact, up to 40 kilometers an hour, it is as quick as a Porsche 911. It's like, let's put it in sport mode. Yes, I have a sport mode because this is an S. And it's like, poof! You know, we talk about natural aspirated engines in the Porsche community, and we prize them for their directness and responsiveness in comparison to turbocharged engines. Well, then electric engines is the answer to all our praise, because it's like, oh, it's really pushing away. And anyone that has driven a Taycan Turbo S know exactly what I'm talking about. But the BMW i3S is no exceptions. It's like everybody, whoa, it's a fun car to drive. Let me put it this way. If you haven't driven a Porsche all your life, as I have done, this is actually a fun car, I think. The most important thing to measure comfort is the noise level. So I take my phone, I measure the decibel levels, and in the BMW 750 I measure in average 45 decibel. In the BMW i3S I measure 65 decibel. In the middle, 55 decibel. I find this Taycan, but please remember it has the most important option that you could tick on a Taycan, and that's the laminated glasses. So it's very important. You have to open the door, check that it feels like it's double glazed, and you can actually see how it is laminated together. It's, ooh, that's how you create comfort in a Taycan. So during my 7-month and 14,000 kilometers of ownership, have I experienced any problem? Yes, one. But I know that is typical for my vehicle. The adaptive cruise control does not work appropriate, but it is still going strong, trying to fix it. Next step for me most likely will be to change the camera. A friend of mine, this is very interesting because all my sports car friends start to buy BMW i3 when they experience the carbon fiber monocoque on an aluminium chassis. They have driven my upgrades with their 215 wheels, and therefore I have tested other i3s with adaptive cruise control, and it works much better than mine. Let's address an elephant in the room when it comes to the BMW i3, the design. Well, I believe there is two camps. One that thinks that the car is extremely ugly, and one that actually thinks it's beautiful and cool. Which camp are you in? Write a comment below and let me know. For me, it needs to be the facelifted version with the cool LED headlights and obviously the cooler turn signal. I need it to be black. I don't like the other colors. It gets too many lines. With black, the lines get sorted, and I truly think it really creates something unique. I also need to tint the front window, otherwise it looks like a hearse, because my car left the factory with the tinted rear windows. I also think with black with the blue accents really creates something, and with the stock i8 wheels I have blue accents in the wheel as well. I think this car looks good. Since I'm normally driving Porsches sports car, let's take this spin for a B-road. Oi, oi, oi. Oh, let me put it this way. Buy a Porsche if you want to do B-road drive. The brakes are non-existing. That's quite funny actually. Ooh, I think it's gonna die on me, this car. But the thrust is okay. I have no idea how many horsepower this car. I have never checked it out actually from the very beginning when I bought it. But let me put it this way, coming in here, it takes a summer to brake, but the handling with the 215 tires are excellent. That's the problem with this setup at this point. And this is really, really important, because the brakes are such a rubbish, but with the 215 tires, I really get that cornered grip, which makes this quite dangerous, to be honest, because as I said, I need a summer to brake, but nevertheless, I have such a grip with the Pilot Sport 4S. And you need to take that under consideration when you do this upgrade. If you are intending to do some really heavy driving with this vehicle, I sincerely suggest you to upgrade the brakes as well. Let's test them and stress them a little bit here. Coming in brakes, oh, it doesn't feel good, ladies and gentlemen, and then I just pushed into the corner, coming into strong braking here. This is where I brake with the Porsches, and that's not good at all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy that I have the thrust from the regeneration when I brake. Ooh. So basically, if you want to have your i3S, which actually has its potential as a B-road drive car, you also need to upgrade the brakes. There we have it. But my gosh, what a different car it is when you have done this upgrade. And that's what happened. I mean, those that has driven the i3 and feel that it is unstable in high speed, well, think again. Buy some rims, BMW i8 rims with Michelin Pilot Sport 4S 215. That's the recipe, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to shout out for Autoshield again. We all know that they are the best in Sweden when it comes to PPF, but they have designed one spectacular thing. The i3 has 3 kind of module slots where you could put a cup holder in, and Autoshield has designed such a perfect holder for a MagSafe in Apple. So you use one of the slots and then you push it in, and the MagSafe will keep the phone in place when you drive. It's just click, charging, click, click. Spectacular. If you want to buy one, contact Autoshield in Sweden. There is one thing which we need to address. The BMW iDrive. Remember how many times I've been throwing my disappointment at Porsche communication management, and it's true rubbish. But this car is equipped with Apple CarPlay, and I don't use it because the iDrive system is brilliant. Remember the shortcuts? I just push number 8 and I'm directly into the Spotify. I turn it on and bang! Access to all my playlist, everything in one touch of a button. That's something that Apple CarPlay cannot do. Speaking of this Harman Kardon system, this is top of the range, at least what you could get in the BMW i3S, and it's just rubbish in comparison to the stock Porsche. And then Porsche has, from one step to another, to the Bose system and then the Burmeister, as we all know. You should think about that. You most likely, if you really would like that top-notch quality hi-fi system, you need to build it yourself if you drive BMW. Claiming that the BMW i3S with the modification I have made is the best electric vehicle in the world. Well, that's quite bold, isn't it? But this is the channel where I present my religion, where I stay true to my beliefs, a non-filtered YouTube channel. And that's where I stand. And where I start in the electric vehicle is to analyze how I use my vehicle. And then find a tool that suits my 99% journeys and not buying the car for the 1% when I go skiing with my family. This is a very difficult vehicle to understand. You need to appreciate technology through its engineering and not the apps in the display. You also need to stay true to your inner self and not having a need to shout out, "Here I come." Instead, I cannot help smiling when I see drivers in i3. He or she is very intellectual.